Just a sec. Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. We welcome you to this roundtable discussion. The subject is very important. It is on monetary penalties to be imposed by the IPAs, and it concerns clause 24 2D of the schedule to the IPBI model bylaws and governing board of IPAs regulations. Uh, to take the discussion, we have Ravi Prakash Kanti sir with us here. Uh, and we have Binoy sir for his initial remarks. So with that, may I request first Binoy sir to kindly deliver his initial remarks. Binoy sir.
Yeah, thank you, Nitin. So a very good afternoon to each and everyone. Now this IBBA circular dated 28 July on the monetary penalty seems a very hot subject nowadays. Like many concerns we are receiving from the members, many representations are also coming to us regarding this. There is little this clarity is not fully there on many aspects of this contravention mentioned over there. So many representations we are getting. So we thought we had an initial discussion with the IBBA also. So what IBBA also suggests to have a roundtable or to get information feedback from the members and do a representation on behalf of IPA so that they can further look into the issues in a proper way. So, so this is the intent behind this meeting. We already received many representation from each of the members and also from many associations as well, IP associations. So with this, I stop and then we can have a inclusive kind of a discussion on this, deliberations on this. We need to raise properly on the issues. So I request all the members to raise the issues, their concerns, so that we can compile all the concerns in a proper way and represent properly with IBBA. We have the 9th Monday, we have the monthly meeting also happening with the WTM chairman, and also we can able to highlight this properly with the board. So request all the members to contribute with the full sense so that we can take up the matter further. So thank you for RP Gandhi sir also to do moderating for this aspect. It's a very important matter where we had, and myself and Mr. Gandhi also had a good conversation on each topic on this last week. So thank you from my side, and let us participate, please.
Thank you, Dr. Binoy. Yeah, shall we start, Nitin?
Sir, I was thinking just, I mean, as was discussed that just to maintain ourselves to the subject only. So there's certain, as you said, that certain points about brevity. So whatever interventions, I'm sure everybody wants to say something about this circular. Just to say a few points about being brief and to the point. So as we say, that brevity is the soul of a good argument. So if we have a good argument, we never elongate the things, we are brief. So brevity is there, brevity has to be there. It is also said that brevity is often observed with its brief. So whenever there's a brief, then we observe that there's a need to be brief. And it also says that brevity goes along with precision, and brevity also means some organization in the mind. So with that, I'm sure Ravi sir is going to lay down certain more rules about this discussion today. So with that, may I request sir to kindly take over. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nitin. Okay, we will today's discussion, there will be basically two parts. The first part, very brief, just about 5 minutes, I think. I will just run through the statutory provisions which are related to disciplinary actions, both by the board or the IP. And that is just to recapitulate in our mind what the laws governing what we are going to discuss. After that, we'll come to the main discussion, which will be open house. And once I finish the small presentation, I will tell how we will go about that. Just give me a second. I will share this. Okay, so what we have is the topic of discussion, which is the IBBI circular on penalties dated 28th of July. Okay, So what are the statutory provisions? We'll just recapitulate. Most of us know this, but we may not have given that much thought to that. So because the subject is there today. So the first one that we need to look at is section 196 of the code, which details the powers and functions of the board, which is IBBI, which and subsection 2 of that says the board may make model bylaws to be adopted by insolvency professional agencies, which may provide for, and this is sub clause H of that subsection, the grounds on which penalties may be levied upon the members of IPAs and the manner thereof, and subclause P, the manner of conducting disciplinary proceedings against its members and imposing penalties. Now, these are the two sections or provisions of the code which give IBBI the power to issue the circular that they did on 28th. So it is not that it was not there. It was always there. Nothing new has actually happened by the circular, except to the extent that certain bands have been established, an upper limit as well as a lower limit. A lower limit in the sense not below this, and the upper limit not more than this. Okay, there is section 220, which is also equally important, which talks of the appointment of the disciplinary committee by the IPAs. Okay, so when an IP is to be, a disciplinary action is to be taken, a committee shall be formed which may impose penalty, which shall be 3 times the amount of the loss cost or 3 times the amount of the unlawful gain made. Okay, this is what the code is setting in terms of the really upper maximum. That this is somewhat like the SEBI guidelines also, the way SEBI follows similar rules in when it levies penalties on erring members of the stock exchange or otherwise. Okay, then we come to the subject matter of today, which is the model bylaws. Now section 10 of that, main section 10, disciplinary proceedings. Now here it talks of the powers of the agency, which is the IPA, that the IPA may initiate disciplinary proceedings. How? Okay, there are 4 triggers. One, on a reference made by the grievance redressal committee. That's a separate committee that the IPA has. Then based on the monitoring of the professional members, that means in the ongoing monitoring, which includes the filings that we do as members when regarding our assignment, or any inspection carried out by the IPA or any information asked for. So monitoring is a very broad term. It includes all types of information gathering exercise. So based on that, a disciplinary proceeding can be initiated by the IPA or a direction given by the board, that means the IBBI or any court of law. Now, any court of law would obviously include the tribunals, NCLT and NCLAT. And the last one, suo motu. Okay, this is when some information comes to the that the IPA comes to know about from anywhere. It doesn't matter how that this requires to be looked into. Then it can initiate a disciplinary proceeding on that basis too. Okay, it won't be obviously at whims and fancies. There are guidelines for that. I'm sure they follow the inspection, show cause notice, and all those processes. Now, under the same section 10, there is para 24 sub clause 2 that, and this is where under D it talks of imposition of monetary penalty. Now, what are all the orders that a disciplinary committee may pass? It will include expulsions. Hello, anybody talking there? Yeah, the orders that may be passed by the DC includes expulsion, suspension for a certain period of time, cancellation of the AFA. Okay, which means that your registration doesn't get cancelled, but or a membership, but only the certificate of practice for maybe a particular period of time. Admonishment, which means a warning, a letter, whatever of that nature. Imposition of monetary penalty. Now, this is obviously the topic for today. Now, this D, imposition of monetary penalty, this part, the limits had not been set. So it was left entirely to the discretionary powers of the committee or the view of that committee at any point of time, what would be the monetary penalty that they may or may not impose. Now the board felt that this should be codified. Now, all that is happening is the power and the penalty as such was already there. All that is happening now is a codification in terms of bands, lower and upper, and also the trigger points at which each band will be triggered. Okay, so that was basically all about the statutory provisions which are related to the topic for today. From now on, we will open the house for discussion. Okay. If members want the provisions to be displayed on the screen, I will be able to do that. However, if it is not required, we can just have an open discussion. One would assume that everybody is aware of what has happened. Okay. A few rules, Nitin has already stated some of them. One is only one person talks at a time. Preferably use the raise hand icon that is available on your screens, right at the bottom under reactions. That would be best. If not, you can also put your name into the chat box. Then 3 minutes maximum per speaker, okay, at a time. If we have time at the end, we will come back to it if you have to add anything else. Stay on the topic, and also let us all adopt a constructive approach. Okay, at this point, I'm stopping the sharing. If required, I'll start it again. Okay. So now the floor is open to all participants, and anyone can initiate the discussion. Of course, if nobody has any problem, we can still go ahead and implement it from tomorrow. Actually, based on the amount of what you call response or noise that was going on in various social media groups that we have as IPs, it appeared that this is a very serious topic. But looking at the number that you've turned up for today, it seems that, yeah, I think everybody has realized it should be done, mostly, right? So silence is concerned. Please remember that.
Sir, this is Padmashri speaking from Hyderabad.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this regarding this monetary penalties, the first point fails to submit disclosures, returns, etc. to IPAs. So what I feel is ICSI IIP disclosures, that is not very clear, sir. What is it they are asking for us to give inputs? That is like whether we are related party or something, that the communication, it is not clear to my knowledge. So maybe the institute should look into thing and clearly give the, what is it they are requiring. What I feel is like, yeah, as per the IBC and they're displayed by in the portal is something different. Like we are not understanding what they are asking us to give the disclosure.
Okay, if I could understand what you're trying to say, your issue is not with the penalty. It is how to do disclosure on IPA website.
That is next. That I will give you. That is next.
Okay, the first point that you have talked of, I think Nitin, IPA people can make a note if you want. I mean, maybe conduct one more session on how to fill up the disclosures on the IPA website. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well taken, yes, but that is not the topic of today. So let us move to the topic.
No, unless that is there, then the penalty will come. So,
okay.
So that is what my point. Yeah. The second point is like 25 up to 1 lakh or 25% of fee, whichever is higher, subject to a minimum of 50,000. So if I am taking a bank assignments, banks are giving only 15,000, 20,000. So I feel this is more penalties more than what we are receiving as a fee, professional fee. So I think we should see that. You should look into that.
So your issue is with the maximum or with the minimum?
Both.
Or both?
Yes.
Both. Okay, fine. Okay, right. So you're talking of the amount. You don't have any issue with the trigger points per se. Okay, fine.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. These are my 2 points I've given. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Sridhar, sir.
Yes.
May I say something, sir, with your permission?
Please go ahead, please.
So regarding the circular, one thing is not clear, sir, whether this penalty will be laid unilaterally. Normally on this penalty and such kind of these things should be, there should be a chance for the other party to be heard, and there should be a principle of justice should be applied, sir, before giving this penalty, sir. So
Right.
that is
Okay. Let me answer that first straight away.
Yes, sir.
The penalty will follow the process as laid down in the bylaws. And also there are other regulations about grievance handling, inspection, etc. So all the principles will be followed. Without a show cause notice, no penalty will be levied. And it is not just show cause notice. Show cause notice followed by a reply, followed by a hearing. And I think all the cases that they have done till now in the last 4.5 years, they have gone one step more than required and not one step less in terms of giving a hearing. So that part, rest assured, the procedure will be followed in total in terms of principle of natural justice. And the procedures are laid down in the regulation itself. They do talk about it. Maybe because, as I said, we don't really read these regulations as much as, let us say, CIRP or liquidation process regulations, but they are all covered there. Once you revisit them, you'll find that the process is covered in detail in the regulations. Yes. Any other thing that you would like to say?
One more point, sir. Again, I would like to say that these amounts are a little bit rigorous, sir, because compared to the fees we receive, this is too much higher. That's what my is a humble opinion, sir.
Okay. Top and bottom and both, or only one side?
Both, sir. Both are very high, sir. Because, sir,
very
actually, there should be a comparison made with, how the other professional institutions or they charge. Like the Institute of Chartered Accountant, Cost Accountant, Company Secretary, all these are all professional bodies. They don't charge so much, sir. So, and also this is very rigorous. That's what, in my humble opinion, sir.
I think we are trying to compare ourselves with SEBI and not CA Institute.
That's a professional body, no, sir.
Okay, that was enlightenment.
Yes.
Yeah, point well taken. Yes.
Yes, sir. So that is my humble opinion, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sri.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Anyone else has anything to say?
So this is Chandigarh.
So
it's Rajesh Shah.
Rajesh Shah. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Sir, actually, first thing, whether this, whenever this circular was made, it was done unilaterally by IBBI or was the 3 IPS involved in deciding something?
Okay.
If I can ask that to ICSI,
I think first. I will answer that partly.
Yeah.
This circular is about 4 years late.
Hmm.
It should have been issued 4 years ago, because the empowerment was there at the time when the model bylaws came into force. It was actually required at that time. From what IBBI has been talking about, and Dr. Sahu, I think in an interaction a couple of days back, he was saying that we were learning how to set this. It is not that they didn't want to, but they were, in a way, they said some things will take their own time. Everything doesn't happen on day one. Yes, I'm sure they would have discussed internally. I don't think anything happens without discussion between the IPAs and IBBI. But since those discussions are usually confidential, I don't think they can really answer that question in detail.
No, sir.
But from the knowledge that we have, otherwise, discussions always take place.
Yeah, so that's what I'm telling you. If it was discussed, as far as figure is concerned.
Discussed doesn't mean that you listen to the other person. Okay?
That I agree. I completely agree. That goes without saying. So what I mean to say, if at all that figures were decided mutually between 3 IPAs and IBBI, then this discussion is futile.
Okay. No. The answer to that would be no. It was not mutually decided as such. Because that's all, things don't happen that way. Okay, there is a process for discussion of regulations and maybe implementation things. Some things governments and government bodies in general, and that includes all types of regulators, not just here. Like when RBI wants to impose penalties, they don't discuss with banks what it will be.
Got it.
They will discuss with their superior body, which is probably, you know, somebody in the ministry or something. So the discussion is usually one level higher when it comes to penalties or this subjects like that. Whether it ought to be is different. Okay, but this is generally, and the same thing happens in corporate structures too, right? We know that you don't discuss what should be the penalty to the person who is going to be penalized. You discuss at best with your immediate superior or 2 levels higher.
So keeping that in mind, if at all the figures, frankly, I am strongly against, I have my strong views against the amount of penalty because it's very high. And wherever, for example, as other members are also telling that, yes, whatever fees we are receiving, forget about that part. Maybe we are quoting less and all that. Let's not go into that. Simple 50,000 or 25% of your fees is as good as next to impossible to pay. Because if at all someone is getting say 50,000 or 1 lakh rupees per a month, now first thing, it is not very clear that whether it is for full assignment 25% or it is for that one particular month or something. That's one thing. And another thing, if that is not the case, for example, if one person is receiving just 1 lakh and he has for first month IRP, I'm appointed as IRP for a company. First month, I am going to get 1 lakh rupees. And if I have to pay 1 lakh rupees, it's impossible. So frankly, it is like, it is prohibitive. It doesn't make any sense. And because minimum fees, minimum penalties, some places 50,000 and 1 lakh, which is like, so yes, strong views. If at all that is the case, we as an institute should straightway say that this figure, or as far as we members are, I am concerned, I feel that this fee is very high and it should, means yes, levy the fee, agreed. If there is a problem, if there is some fraud or something which is committed by the person, yes, you levy, you take the membership away, that all is fine. But these fees are very high. It makes no sense to even, because as far as other parties are concerned, let it be creditors or let it be debtors, they are not going to tell that, yes, because IBBI is paying you, or you have to charge, so we will pay you. So it's going to be a risk for everyone. Means till last moment you don't know, because the way people act, everyone knows. So it makes no sense to, means we should strongly say that these fees are very high. That is my view.
Right, at both ends, right? You are saying the upper limit has
both ends.
Yeah.
See, if there is a problem, then 100%, not even that much, you do whatever you want to do. But if there is no mala fide interest, or if it is not proved, you don't just held that person guilty and penalize him.
So what you are trying to say is that any default arising out of an action in good faith should not be a trigger for such penalties.
Exactly.
Okay, so indirectly you are saying if it is done willfully and if it appears to be done willfully, then definitely any amount is fine.
Yeah, if it is a casual approach that maine nahi kiya, then yes, kill him, that's fine.
Got
If it is like, there is no way what to do.
Okay.
Even
Further to Mr. Rajesh Shah's point, I would like to add here that since it's an evolving profession, so the penalty for ill intention should definitely be there. But for the innocent insolvency professional who has made some casual mistakes, that should not be the subject to the penalty. Secondly, that should be a gradual increase. Suppose one is a habitual defaulter, then the penalty should be increased. But for the initial 1-2 stage, that should not be at all penalty. That should be hand-holding by the IP and IBBI, that they should give support that, okay, you have made the mistake, okay, no issue, but don't do it next time. We are forgiving this lapses. So that should be the approach, because the IPA and IPs, we are your member. It doesn't. We need your support also. We need to have a strong backing of you, because we should not be afraid of that we will be subject to any action, will be subject to the penalty. So that should be hand-holding by the IPS that, okay, you have made a mistake, no issue, don't do it, go to the next time. If it's doing next time, then definitely subject to the penalty, but not the first initial mistake. One thing. Secondly, the overall penalty for the various defaults. Suppose he has got he has met many defaults. So, but for whatever reason, it may be that he has mistakenly has not complied with the other point also, and he should not be subject to the penalty of 50,000 in each case. So it is likely to be that the penalty is more than the fees what he is receiving. Suppose he has made 4 different and he's only receiving 1 lakh of rupees and the 50,000 each, it will be 2 lakh of penalty. So it will be very difficult for IPs to sustain this type of penalties. That is the simple. But definitely the regulator needs to control the process. Regulator needs to monitor the things. Any lapses by the IPs must be placed on record that he has made the mistake, and that mistake should not be repeated. If he is not repeating the mistake, then definitely that should be appreciated, and that the penalty should not be there. This is my solution.
Right. So basically what you have, just 1 second. What you have
Just
said
sorry
is,
to interrupt. Perfectly, thanks, Raj Kamalji. But the issue is,
1 second,
what
1
we are
second,
telling-
Mr. Rajesh, 1 second.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm just summarizing so that when we take notes, our people, they will take it properly. So basically what Mr. Saraogi said, 1 is intent. Second is repeat offenders should be treated differently from first time offenders. Yeah, got it. Yes, Boliye.
Sir,
1 second.
another-
Are you adding something because your 3 minutes are
Yeah,
up?
adding.
1 second, hold on. We will come back to you. Mr. Venkatraju is waiting and a couple of others. Yes,
Sure,
Mr.
sure.
Venkatraju, you have raised your hand earlier. Do you want to say anything? You have to unmute yourself. Your mic is off.
Okay, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. I got a couple of points, sir. In the circular at point number 5, it is mentioning about the penalties for non-compliance with the directions of the AA. I mean, educated authority. There are already contempt procedures are there, and IUBA cannot be a supervising over the judiciary. So those procedures are also there. And if any violation is there, somebody can take up with the concerned judiciary, and we can be concerned. The guilty can be penalized. This is 1 point, sir. Point number 2, sir. There is no appellate procedure available in the disciplinary procedures of the IBBS, sir. This is my 2 requests, points to be.
Okay, right. Yeah.
Give
Yes. So just to 1, you said that if there is an action taken by the judicial authority concerned whose orders are being violated, is this double jeopardy? The simple answer to that in law is no. Double jeopardy applies to criminal actions, not to civil and administrative actions. That is settled law. So this Dr. Sahu clarified just a couple of days ago. I heard him on that. So I'm just repeating what he said. But it doesn't mean that they will do it. He also clarified saying that once something is done, the idea is not to penalize a person twice, though in law it is not wrong. Okay, so that part of it is there. Second, you are talking of appellate. Okay, as far as the IPA is concerned, please read the model bylaws. It is there. It is not there in IBBA. That's a separate issue. We are today talking of the IPA part of it. We will not stray from beyond that. This is restricted to DC of the IPA, not DC of the IBBI. Okay, right? Thank you. Mr. Basavaraj Salim. Would you like to speak? Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. Sir,
ahead.
I have got, usually, though this IBC is evolving for the last 5 years, but not the IPs. IPs may be of 4 years experience, 3 years experience, 2 years experience, or maybe new one. So in case of what I personally feel is, if the IP is handling the first case, it should be a counseling, it should be a sort of a hand holding by IPA as well as IBBA. Number 2, when the second case comes up, when he's taking up the second case, at that time it may go with a warning, because these are not the regular procedures. These things happen once a while, and people are bound to forget, and they should not be constituted as a negligence. And from the third case onwards, IP might have gained the experience so that he can do it comfortably, then a penalty can be imposed. not for the first case or second case, number one. And then see, in banking also, earlier we had what you call as the FERA, Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. It was referred to as a draconian act. So to improve upon that, FEMA was brought in, Foreign Exchange Management Act, because it's only to keep everyone healthy in all the parameters or in all the activities. In the same way, this imposing penalty right at the first moment itself may be of that nature, sir. And then for every filing, whenever IP files, either with IPA or IBBI, they should come back immediately to the IP. This is the wrong thing which you have quoted, you rectify this. And if it is not rectified, then only you pose a penalty. Because you have to give him an opportunity, because this is an upcoming IBC is upcoming, and hand-holding of IPs is more important, because they are the only stakeholders on whom this penalty is being talked about.
Okay, fine. So largely you have said same thing, at first time offense and intent should be taken into account.
Correct,
yes. Yeah, fine. Thank you. Mr. Shivakumar Amarendran.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
I am one of the rare persons. I'm not disputing the penalty. And when we do get into something like this, I think most of us will be willing to pay some fine and get out of it rather than getting into something critical like losing AFA and all that. But to me, as many of my learned colleagues have said, it's a developing profession. Even the circular, to be very frank, I'm not happy with a 2-page circular considering the type of assignments you walk into. You walk into a place where there is no accounts after 2013. What is the point in appointing SFA valuer? You can value your plant and machinery, land and building. Okay, I don't think any of us want to be in the situation just to save ourselves. You go appoint one valuer and don't give him anything at all. You get to say. Then you also over there, you say that if you're not done a proper contract. A proper contract, I would have done a 2-page contract, which will probably say you do this, do that. It may not have an arbitration clause. It may not have a governing law. It may not have various things, which I may not think so. But somebody else may think, oh, this contract does not have all those things. So I do think that even the circular has to be fleshed out. There's a lot of other things which has to come in to equip us, Your views, sir.
Thank you very much. Very refreshing. I think very well put. Thanks a lot. Mr. Parida.
Good afternoon, sir. I wish to draw the attention of the House to point number 13 of the circular. The circular says when IP enters into a contract with professionals in an incomplete manner. Sir, this entering into a contract which is 100% complete is not possible. This is somewhat subjective. So this may put some IPs into trouble. So if it is possible in the model bylaws, some clarity should be given that to what type of incompleteness, then this type of penalty should be utilized.
Right. So what you are saying in summary is that every offense or default, I will not call it offense, every default that is mentioned there should be clarified either in the bylaws or whatever, or separately, it doesn't matter, as to what it means and what it does not mean. Both, right? कि ये included है और ये नहीं है, so that we all of us are on the same page. The regulator and the member both understand what constitutes a default. Fine, thanks. Thank you very much. Ms. Maya Gupta, there is somebody's mic on. Please switch it off, please, if you are not speaking. Yeah, Maya ji,
good
go
evening
ahead.
all. Sir, as far as circular is concerned, I wish to have that there should be included certain exception to these penalties, because sometimes there may be cases where in public announcement matter, if we take the first one, there are the cases, number of cases where the IRP is not able to get even the court order. He just informed by only an advocate that case is admitted and the matter, you will get an order within a day or two. There may be cases when your IRP is not informed by the court officer by a proper order, what is written therein. Second case, in number of cases previously also, that IRP, if it is assigned through the court order, he is not given name to any specific application, but he is appointed by the court. And there has been written as a amount for say 2 lakh rupees for bearing the CIRP cost. Say if the applicant is not providing that CIRP cost, so it is now, as this circular has come, have to bear by the applicant by the IRP from his own pocket. Later on, say after 10-15 days, if the both parties get settled, then what about the cost of the IRP that he has incurred? So nothing is mentioned therein.
Ma'am,
So my
ma'am,
suggestion is-
1 second. These are issues we all understand. These are very relevant issues. There are answers to that. I think for last 4 years, they are being discussed. So we will stick to the circular and the issues raised in that. Okay. So let's not get into other problems. We have a million problems. Agree, all accepted. But let us stick to the default that is mentioned and the penalty that is mentioned. Do you agree with that or don't agree with it? If not, what is it that you are wanting to recommend?
Sir, so my suggestion is to the regulation must include certain exception that if these defaults have been incurred by the IRP or the RP, then under certain circumstances, these should be waived off. And
Right.
the penalty amount should be reduced so that this profession can be maintained in the long run also. Because
Thank
seeing
you.
the penalties high, most of the IPs will left out this profession.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Mr. Atul Grover. Mr.
Good evening,
Grover?
sir. Yes,
Good.
sir. I have this.
Ajay.
Yesterday, I believe in the webinar, I heard Mr. Sahu say that they are going to have a similar penalty list come up with IBBI as well, and that would be incorporated separately in the regulations over and above this list which IPAs are going to incorporate. So one suggestion is that if you could have, less overlap of the type of penalties, so that if there are simpler penalties could be handled by IPAs and different types. So we don't want 14 penalties, the same 14 penalties on both the lists. So if this list could be segregated in the sense that simpler offenses can be handled by IPAs and maybe more severe ones can be looked at IBBI, that way there'll be less overlap and we'll have a better. Also, I heard that one of the IP got penalized because while sending emails to the COC members, he did not mention the date, time in the subject line, in the subject title of the email. Although he had mentioned everything in the body and meetings took place, everything happened, but simply that the subject line was not correct, he was held. So if that is the level of detailing that we have to look into, then we need a very detailed best practices or guidelines written so that, which entails even these small things like make sure that your subject line is correct, make sure this. So once we have a detailed line, then at least we'll know what not to do, what to do. And also that that in case that we could have a helpline also put in so that before, there are a lot of times that we find ourselves in the gray, not knowing what's right. That helpline which was discussed also to be opened before all these penalties kick in so that we have something to fall back on. These are my 3 suggestions.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Grover. Short answers to some of the things that you raised. Okay, notice of meeting, what should be included in the subject line is there in the regulation in detail. One is expected to read that. Just go back, you will find all those things are mentioned. I would also take you back to many orders of the Supreme Court, not once, but repeatedly, that Supreme Court has said that if procedure requires a certain thing to be done in a certain manner, then it has to be done in that manner. There is no option available. The other party, I mean, the administrative authority or the regulatory authority may try to, if it is within its discretion, impose a lesser penalty or whatever. Second one, you said about the 2 not overlapping, IBBI list and IPA list. Well, the lists will be same. But I think in the same talk that you referred to, Dr. Sahu had said that broadly they will be, IBBI will be looking at the larger cases and offenses, and the lesser ones will be looked at by IPA. Strictly speaking, both can levy separate penalties. I mean, it's separate penalties in the sense, not necessarily monetary. The law allows that, but they would not. Okay, we will also have to take into account that people sitting in these bodies are rational persons, just like us. They are not going to be after us only because that's not the intention. The third one, helpline. I think something is already there. ICSI, to the best of my knowledge, has something of this nature. Right? I think they will answer that. Dr. Binay, you do have some helpline system, if I remember, that people can send a query and they get an answer in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, we do have a query platform.
Yes, it's there. Okay, thank you. Who else next? Mr. Rajesh Shah, you had something to add. Since there is no new person, I'll come back to you. Yeah.
Yes, sir. What I was trying to tell is, I completely agree with what everyone is talking. The point is, what we are telling is, first time the person should be not penalized. Next time he should be penalized. Third time he should not be penalized on gradual way. That is fine. But the point is, the fees which or the penalties which are there, frankly, it should never be penalized like 50,000 minimum. So the point is not first time exemption. That figure only has to go down. As simple as that.
So the minimum which triggers at the first default itself, whatever is the first
that is
one,
the problem. Because if
you are saying is too high.
time
Okay, got that. Yeah,
not
that's well taken. Yes, both sides. Yes. Mr. Venkatraju, you have something more to say?
Yes, sir. Sir, regarding point number 13, Madam was already referring this. 13 of the circular enters into contract or agreement with professions in an incomplete and improper manner. Okay, what I would like to say is, there are no model agreements or model formats provided for all things. So it is not possible for everybody to create or to go for a very well designed legally enforceable document. Instead of that, it is better, it is improper on the part of IPA or IBBI to prepare model agreements or letters to the professionals. So many letters we have to address. We have to address to stock exchanges. We have to address to so many income tax authorities, and we have to address to other professionals also. In that case, if the model this thing is there, we can we can take a copy of that, and we will incorporate whatever is required for our context, deleting other things. So that is one suggestion. Thank you, sir.
Right. Thank you. So you are saying basically that before you are told that you are wrong, you should need to know what is right. Unless what is right is established, what is wrong cannot be established. Perfectly fine. Thank you. Mr. Madan Dupar.
Formats, sir. I am more worried about formats.
Yes, sir, got it. Thank you.
Sir, quantum of penalties are on very, very high side. Sometimes in order to pay the penalty, IP may have to need interim finance to pay the penalty.
Okay, thank you.
Because it does not match with the fees also.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Madan. Ms. Padmashri, you want to say something more?
Yes, sir. This is regarding point 12, that is fails to take action in respect of PUFE. So that means as per the penalties, that means as soon as you are appointed as a IRP or RP, you are supposed to appoint a transaction auditor, then do things. Then what is that, sir? What is the action we need to take?
Okay.
That's all COC's call. It has to give. And actually in IBC also, it is not very clear what has to be.
Actually, IBC is very clear. But
no, regarding PUFE transaction, no, that is clear, sir. But the result, how they are going to take it forward, if RP is being discharged and liquidator comes.
No, you are entering into a different. Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay, that's a different subject altogether. What? Yeah.
I agree.
On the basic subject of that particular default clause, which says fails to take action.
Yes, sir.
Now, what is meant by action is required to be defined.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That is what.
If you read the code and regulations together on the POFE avoidance issue, you will find that the RP is required to take 3 actions in sequence. The first one is form an opinion by a certain period of time, 75 days if I remember rightly.
Yes.
The second one is form a determination, which is 105 days if I remember that. And the third one is filing of an application. Okay. So the second comes if the first says yes. When the opinion says yes, there is a likelihood. Okay. Then comes determination. If the determination says yes, there was, then comes application. If at any stage the answer is no, then the next step doesn't happen, right? So you want to know which action is being referred to here when it talks of a penalty.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
And there is no role of COC, just to reiterate on avoidance transaction. COC has no role. And the words transaction auditor or forensic auditor do not appear anywhere in the code or regulations.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
They're important to know that, because custom is not necessarily law all the time.
Yeah,
you can't be penalized for custom. You can only be penalized for breaking the law.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Right. Anyone else has anything to add, comment? Anything specific on any particular text of the default? Or even more general? That's it? Good, that's very nice. All are nice people here, ready to pay penalties.
Sir, Samir Bhattacharya speaking.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, whether there is any role of IPE in the system, IPE, because IPEs, they render support to IPs. So if a mistake committed by them would be on IP, then it would be very unjustful. Because IPE...
Don't appoint an IPE.
But there is always a service provider. You cannot
see, when you are, let us say you are the CMD of a company, which is what an IP becomes, right? Effectively. And you appoint various contractors, service providers, consultants, advisors during normal course. Forget about IBC. So who is ultimately accountable? The contractor. That is between the company and you. So you, in turn, if you are penalized, you have every right to file a damage suit against them under law.
Okay.
Okay. Or complain to their professional body. Suppose it's a chartered accountant whom you have employed, and he gives you bad advice, patently bad advice, because of which you made a mistake. So if you will be penalized, yes, because you are accountable, but you in turn have the right to complain against him.
The IPE has no role in this IPE because that is governed by the IPA.
Well, it is not governed by anybody. Please understand the IPE. Mr. Patwal, please mute yourself. Yeah. The IPE is not a creation of the code or regulation. It doesn't appear anywhere, right? So it is not a regulated body. It is only a recognition that is given to an IPE by the IBBI as a support. It is like an external thing, okay? Like tomorrow, some platform for distressed asset, maybe it's available. And IBBI might say, okay, we recognize you as a, that doesn't have any, sort of relationship between them and that party and you as an IP, that, the responsibility or accountability is diluted. It does not, it is just an availability. You are not bound to take that service. So you can't hold anybody else accountable. It's your call. Nobody said that you need to appoint an IP.
Sir, that is a recent instruction.
There are no instructions, please.
Yeah.
There is no instruction in the code or regulation which says you should appoint an IPE. It is just that IPs are now allowed to provide service to IPs who are other than their members.
Yes.
That's different. That's an option given to them, but no obligation on you. Please understand difference between option and obligation.
Excuse me, sir.
And sir, whether
hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Okay. So IPE, let us stop that there. IPE is
Yes.
not a subject. Mr. Patwal, please go ahead.
Yes, my question is that if there is circular is there by the IBI, so there is a benefit of kind of discussion in this platform.
Of
They
course
also
it
raise
is.
it. No,
IBBI itself has said, and Dr. Binoy right in the beginning made the mention that they have already discussed it.
Yes.
IBBI has asked them to get feedback. So
The
yes,
feedback is that it is
Constitution can be amended based on feedback.
ठीक है, okay,
Then-
but ये है कि fee whatever is the kind of they putting in the kind of a penalty and it is very high. It should not be like that because you know the it will kind of also not give the positive to the members because you know the penalty and is very high, and you know the systems also system is a very not a kind of a very user friendly also. There is some maybe problem, but yeah, it should not be like a high. It should be high in every kind of a where there is a kind of any problem or any.
Right. That is well taken. Yes, you're reiterating what everybody has said, that the penalties are very much on the higher side. Right. Thank you. Mr. Parida?
Sir, I want to draw attention to point number 6 of the circular. Point
Yes.
number 6, which says that IP not to outsource his responsibilities. Sir, IP while acting as a IRP, RP or liquidator, he has to take the help of the professionals to manage CDA as a going concern or inviting resolution plan, verifying it. Maybe it may be legal or something like that. As per my knowledge goes, sir, only thing that everything should be verified by IP. He cannot obtain a certificate from, suppose some resolution applicant has submitted a plan. He cannot ask the RA that you obtain a certificate from another IP. Whether it is limited to that or any other, because so many things have to be outsourced.
Okay. I would paraphrase your concern as this, that what is meant by outsourcing needs to be very well defined.
Sir.
कि ये outsourcing है and this is not considered as outsourcing. Why?
Sir.
Well taken. Right.
Sir,
Mr. Grover, you want 1 second, Mr. Grover, hold on. New person, Mr. Sanjivan.
Sir, I'm very nice that you have been elaborating each and every point very clearly. I am not going to refer any circular, etc. May I request, ask you a small clarification when you are inducted, because as you know that individual IIRP that started only after 21st of May after this Supreme Court judgment. Now you have been appointed by a particular bank as a IRP long before, say, sometime in December 2020. And then for various reasons, that case was not filed. And you have given your Form A, that is your consent letter. That is, you have signed sometime in 29th of December. Now, sir, my point is, since it was the very beginning stage, we didn't know that. And I have not, replied to our IBBI that I have, got a assignment like that. In fact, but the case has not been filed yet. So is there any question of any?
Okay, yeah, I got your question. You said you have
penalty.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just
See,
asking.
yeah, I got your question. You are okay.
And
Not that.
No, and sir, till today it has not been admitted in the.
Fine. Okay. The question is that you did not file the IP1.
Yeah.
And the case itself for which you gave the consent, you are saying it has not yet been filed or not yet been admitted. There is a difference between the two.
It has not been filed. It has not been admitted also.
No. Both cannot happen unless you file it.
It has not been filed.
It has not been filed. Then the ideal thing for you to do is to withdraw your consent.
That is possible, is it?
It's between you and the bank, no applicant.
Okay.
You cannot withdraw consent given under the IBBI panel.
No,
that is not allowed.
No, that I'm not giving.
One-to-one consents can always be withdrawn till filing. But once filed, it may be a problem. Okay. At that stage, you can't withdraw.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for, it's very clear. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Grover.
I'd like to know your personal comments on what is going to happen to the fee Or okay. All right.
As moderator, I am not a participant, so I will not comment. But
That's fine.
you can call me later, then we will talk. Okay, Mr. Basavaraj.
Sir, good afternoon once again. Sir, what I personally feel is this imposing of penalty, if any, should not be a part of lump sum. It should be in proportion to the fees. Because one IP may get a fees of rupees 50,000 per month, another IP may get a 5 lakh rupees per month. So I personally feel that it should be in terms of the percentage or the amount so and so, whichever is lower, something like that, it can be done, sir.
Instead of higher, you want it to be whichever is lower at the upper band.
Lower and 1% or
25%, let's say 25%. I mean, I'm just saying 25 because that's what is written there. 25% or 1 lakh, whichever is lower, instead of whichever is higher. That's what you want to say. So that the lower fee issue cases will also get addressed in an equitable manner. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Right. Anything else? Any
Sir,
other?
One only submission, sir.
Yes, please.
Just a submission because so sorry.
On the subject, but only on today's subject, right?
Oh, yeah, today's subject only because sir, you had been the moderator. So you said that not here any questions here. So can we get your
my number?
I mean, sorry to ask you this kind of a question in an open meeting, but I have no option.
No issue.
Actually, sir.
Okay, given.
Hello.
Mr. Patwal, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, sir, there should be, before imposing a penalty, there should be a warning in every case. If there is a, if the IRP or professional, violate the 1, 2, 3 warning, so the penalty should be imposed by the insurance IPA. Because, if there is, because there is a warning should be there. If he will break the 2, 3 warnings, then we can impose the penalty on the person. It will also there should not. It is also very good for the IPA. It should not be a discriminatory also. It will be in black and white.
Right. Got it. Okay. You had said that before. Yeah. Any other? Any new suggestion? Something different? Okay, if there is nothing much, I will just share again the section 24, subsection 2 of the model bylaws under main heading 10, chapter 10, which is the disciplinary proceeding. I think that will probably ease your mind as to how penalties operate. Okay, just a second. Just give me 1 second. Okay, can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll just request all of you, just give a minute to read each one carefully. Okay, this is under the model bylaws regulation. Para 24, subsection 2 of that. Now, these are the various orders that the DC can pass. Now, nowhere does it say that all of them or more than one of them. That means the discretion is available to the committee depending on the issue before it, the seriousness of it, as you said, is it a repeat offense? Is it a willful offense or default? How has it happened? Were there any mitigating circumstances? All of those are always taken care or taken into account by any disciplinary committee normally. Okay, we will have to make an assumption that the people of that are sensible and they are not your personal enemies. If at all you or I have, have to go before them. So what do they include? They include expulsion, suspension, cancellation, admonishment. Now, this is likely to be the most frequent for if good faith is established and the default is minor, which means it is a procedural error, but has not resulted in any damage to anybody. Obviously, people will take that into account. Why should we assume that, they will always say, oh, 2 lakh lagana hai, It doesn't happen that way. Nowhere in the world it happens. And okay, I won't say nowhere in the world. Some places it does, but India generally it doesn't, and here it won't. I'm pretty sure of that. And reference of the matter to the board will come. In fact, this is when the case is so big or the offense is so large that the IPA feels that the board is better equipped to handle that. And direction relating to costs, it's like in the court cases that costs are awarded to the other party if there is a loss. Okay. So this is how it works normally. And again, I will request all of you, please read the bylaws for a change, because we would not have read it in the past. We are not really concerned with it most of the time. But now that the subject has come up, please read it. They're elaborate. They have set down the procedure. They have set down the principles under which it shall be done. So take all that are taken into account. Okay. So that was that. Mr. Chakrabarti, Ranjan Chakrabarti. Mr. Ranjan Chakrabarti, you raised your hand. You want to say something? Hello? Okay, probably is not there. Yeah. Yes. Anybody else has anything to say?
In continuation, this is Atul Grover again. In continuation with our, that email example, although it is written in the regulation and we are all supposed to be, in full knowledge about all these things, big or small, it would still be appropriate if IPAs could come up with the best practices where they would call out all these, these relevant things which are most likely going to be overlooked, or and if we could have best practices so that it stands out separately, just help us minimize the mistakes.
Yeah, so you are basically talking of some. Mr. Chakrabarti, you want to speak?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
There should also be some provision which is beyond the control of the IP, because in many assignments, books are not available for the last 4 years. So how we can form his opinion that something like this preferential like this transactions was happened like this. So, and in that case, the things should be judged whether the situation is well under control of the IP or not. And he should not be made responsible for anything which is beyond his control.
You are again saying the same thing. Action taken in good faith should not be penalized, but willful defaults are necessarily to be looked into. On the specific example that you gave, that how can an RP form an opinion when books are not available? Even writing down saying I am unable to form an opinion is also an opinion for so and so reason. Yes, please write that down and upload it on that form. For that part, that shows that you have looked into it and you are unable to say either way. Okay, so that's fine. That's fine.
Another thing,
One second, Mr. Saraogi, hold on.
When the fees is under this, sometimes fees has been referred to IBBI to determine, and so when the fees is under dispute, then also and the directors are not cooperating, and the COC is not cooperating. This should all this should have to be taken care of.
Well, the IBBI or the IPAs are not welfare associations. Okay, they are regulators. And we are all minimum of 50 years or above, which means we have a minimum of 20 years. I mean, though the requirements are only 10 or 15 years, but most of us are 20 or 25 years experience. If we can't take care of ourselves at this age, then I think we are in the wrong place. So let's not even go there. वो होने वाला नहीं है. Okay, that's just beyond the not only the remit of this discussion, but it's not going to happen. Okay, nobody is going to come and take care of you. वो किसी भी profession में नहीं होता. You want sinecure, take up a job. You want to take risk. Profession is a form of business. It is. It has risk. And people, IPs today will tell you that they are taking up cases where workers have not been paid for years. So there is nothing in the life which is guaranteed, not on fees. I think both fees ka for last 4.5 years, sun ke pak gaya. We are competent enough, mature enough, educated enough to take care of this. If we have taken a wrong step, well, next time we should correct ourselves. Yeah, Mr. Saraogi.
Yeah, I would like to add to the point where you have said that even if we are not in a position to form the opinion regarding the PUF transaction, not forming the opinion, we need to communicate that what are the reasons that we are not able to form the opinion. That's a very good suggestion. Then that should be a part of the regulation, that wherever the IPs are not in the position to form an opinion, they can give the reasons of not forming the opinion, but they have to give the their final verdict whether they are able to form the opinion or not opinion within 135 days.
Mr. Saraogi, I will beg to differ there very much. Again, on the same grounds that we are old enough that we don't have to have a ABCD primer with us. Okay, the regulation says shall form an opinion whether subjected to avoidance or not. Now, if you are unable to form an opinion because of lack of records, which in turn are there because of lack of cooperation, then you would already filed a application under section 19(2), and that itself is evidence that you are unable to form the opinion. और क्या चाहिए? बोलने की जरूरत नहीं है साहब. I mean, this much minimum is required. We are all supposed to be, the highest of the professions have been selected to become IPs. Okay. अब यहाँ भी हैंड होल्डिंग इतना लगेगा तो फिर देयर इज समथिंग रॉन्ग विद द कंट्री एज अ होल. ओके, सो लेट्स, आई डोंट थिंक दैट्स द प्रॉब्लम. बस जस्ट थोड़ा सा ये है कि वी आर ट्रैवलिंग दिस रोड अलोन. We have to travel this alone. There will be risk. We can take associates with us, but they are co-travelers. They are not our shields.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other thing to add? I think we are more or less coming to a consensus as to what are the issues that have been raised. Those have all been noted down very well. And of course, at any stage, if something else comes to your mind, you can always write a mail to the institute. They will take that into account. Okay. So with these words, I think one can close today's session as far as the discussion goes, since nothing much is coming up. Okay, Nitin, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So we have noted all the suggestions. I mean, broadly, the suggestions have been that first is that the penalties to most of the participants appear to be on a higher side. Some of the points which have been figured out, that these are the points and what the difficulties are faced by the IEPs. So those have been noted in particular. We'll be forwarding all these suggestions to IBBI. And with that, I thank you, sir. Thank all the participants for their participation. And we'll continue with more roundtables in the future. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Jai Hind, Vande Mataram.
Okay, can I close the meeting then? Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.